In this lesson we're going to be looking at styling in React, and that's both inline styling and also firstly how we add styles by applying classes to our JSX tags. So as usual I'm going to just fork this sandbox and we can start working on this version. I'm just going to remove some of this commentary. Okay, and let's get started. So for those of you who are familiar with styling in HTML, know that we need to add classes to our HTML elements and then target those classes in our CSS file. So we're going to be following a very similar procedure for how we can style our tags and our elements in JSX. So firstly I'm going to go to styles.css and just clear this out, so we've got an empty file, and what we need to do is import that into this this file, this component. So I'm going to import that file, styles.css, and then that CSS file is available to use in this file. And first of all I'm going to show you just by adding the same syntax as HTML, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to add class equals to heading, and then styles.css I'm going to target heading. I'm going to change the color to red. I'm going to open this into a new window and we can see what happens. We'll just give Code Sandbox a minute to run, and then we've got our heading in that nice red color. Now if you go to More Tools and Developer Tools, which we'll be using quite often in this course, you can see in the console we do have an error. So invalid DOM property class, did you mean class name? So this is something to note, that whereas in HTML you apply tags using class, in JSX and in React we need to use class name, and also notice how that is in camel case. So setting class name will clear those errors in our console. And similarly, we can add a class name to our li tag. I've called this list, and we can target list and maybe add some padding. We can remove our bullet points as well, which is list style type of none, and maybe we can change the font size to 18 pixels. Okay, and there it is here. I'm kind of lost a little bit. Sometimes this dragging can be a little bit cumbersome. Looks like I've lost the ability to make this smaller. Let me just refresh. Okay, I'm just going to shrink that down there. Okay, and in our app here, there's some errors. We can refresh, and we've removed the bullet points, and we've got some styling on these KPIs. Okay, but this is not the only way to style elements in React. We can also add inline styles. So I'm going to remove these classes. Go back to how it was, and let's have a look now at adding inline styles. So inline styles can be added directly in our tags using a style property, and that style property you will need to pass your CSS as a JavaScript object. So this means that you need to obey the laws of JavaScript objects, which does change some of the syntax that we're going to use. So style equals, and then curly braces. We want to pass something into this, apply something to the style property, and this needs to be an object, so you're going to need another set of curly braces. And then we can add in our CSS here, so we can add color to red. And notice a couple of things. So let me just wait till this refreshes. And I've removed the closing tag, which we're going to need. So it needs to be in that H1 tag. You can see we've changed the color now to red. So a couple of things. One, this is a JavaScript object. So this is in fact a string, so it needs to be in single quotes. Just putting red here like you might do in CSS is not going to work. Secondly, you will not separate your different attributes by semicolon. That's not going to work because again this is an object, so you need to use a comma. So if you want to add a second one, it needs to be comma, and then we can add font size to 50 pixels, nice and big. And you can also notice that the font size here is in camel casing, which is different to CSS, where you'll have a dash, so font dash size. So we've got two ways that we can apply styling in React, either through style sheets or inline styles. And there are plenty of additional libraries which help in both cases, which we are going to cover. So you've got Sass style sheets to enable your CSS files to do a bit more computation around if statements and dynamic styling. And there's other great libraries covering inline styles, for example styled components, which we are also going to be using in a later section. One last thing to show you is that you can also remove these inline styles out of this and just into a separate object. So if I cut this out and just create an object called custom styles and const custom styles, we can just add that object into basically just separating it outside of our tags. Again, we'll just give Code Sandbox a minute to complete. Running a little bit slowly today. And then we've got the same CSS being applied. And we can maybe edit this. You know, in some cases you might want some users to see something in one color, or depending on some sort of action you want to change the colors. So we can actually edit this object. So maybe we can say custom styles .color equals blue. So we're accessing custom styles object and then color and changing this from red to blue. Okay, let me remove this. And that's changed there to blue. And similarly, we can also apply functions in here. So say we want to change this to a function. I'm going to remove all this. And we can actually execute our custom styles function. And maybe we want to keep this as an object. And we can set var styles to equal color red and then return styles. So we're executing this function and returning styles. And similarly, you know, we can add some conditional operators in here. So maybe, as I said, you want to make this a little bit more dynamic. So based on some boolean, we can apply some styles or other styles. So we can say bool question mark, which we learned previously. So if boolean is true, apply this style. Otherwise, apply blue. And then we're going to have our KPI list in blue, and if this is true, then that would be in red. So hopefully this has got you thinking a little bit about when a bit further down the line we start adding some more custom styling to our elements, this will come in handy. So that was a nice overview of just some styling in JSX, and next time I'm going to move on to the concept of React components.